254-page book for school. He can read 40 pages in 1 hour. The equation for the number of pages he has left to read is y equals 254 minus 40x, where x is the number of hours he reads. I would go through and label my x and y axis to start with, okay, because that's going to help with interpreting. So what does x represent? It says x is the number of hours. So here I would say hours. What's our y-axis? Pages he has left, right? So pages. Okay? So we have to state the slope and the y-intercept. Right here is your equation. Is that in our typical y equals mx plus b form? No. How do I get it to it?
Flip around. You made to make it negative 48.
Okay, so I can just rewrite it as y equals negative 40x plus 254. I think I told you that yesterday. So then what would be my slope in that, Adriana?
40.
Yep, well what? Negative 40. And then my y-intercept would be what, Daniel? 254. Okay? Questions on that part? Then you have to graph your equation. Which do I graph first, the slope or my y-intercept?
Y-intercept.
How do you graph your slope if you don't know where to start? So what am I going to graph first?
254.
The y-intercept. What is your x always in a y-intercept?
0.
0. So your coordinate point, technically, for this y-intercept is 0, 254. So I graph that point. It's a little bit above 240. Okay? Then my slope is negative 40. Negative 40 is an integer. I can always put it over what?
0.
Over. If I put it over 0, that would be undefined, right?
Yeah.
So I can put it over what? 1. So do I go up or down?
Down.
I have down 40, so I go down 40 from 254. So to figure out where you're at, you would take 254, subtract 40.
14.
So you'd get 214. Okay, so a little bit here.
Then you just go down.
Then I'd subtract, and I went over. I automatically went over. So I go down 40, and then I go over 1. Okay? I go down 40 from there. I get 174. Okay, and then I have to go over 1. Okay, because it's rise over run. My run is 1, my rise is negative 40, which means I go down. Okay, since you have 3 dots, you can extend your line because it continuously goes. A lot of kids will just stop at their 3 little dots. The line goes on forever, so draw it out. Okay? Questions on graphing it? Landon.
What about if you read the numbers wrong and you had the number line,
Fixed it.
you have it correct, but slightly shifted that?
Fixed it. Okay, now we need to interpret what the slope and y-intercept mean. So my slope is rise over run, which is your y over x, correct?
Correct.
So it would be negative 40 what? Pages per what?
Hours.
Per 1 hour. So he has to read 40 pages per hour. Okay? And then how do you interpret the y-intercept? How do you read You have to read them so you're finishing them. You're finishing 40.
Negative 40.
Yeah, just
Oh, wait, pause.
You're
No,
getting-
keep going.
So you're getting rid of them,
I
right?
didn't ask that.
Okay. So then, how do I interpret that 254? What does that 254 mean? That's how much she needs to read. So 254 pages needed to read. Questions on that one? Okay. Moving on to the next one. You need to write an equation in slope-intercept form for this graph. Okay? How do I find my slope when I'm given a graph? There's two different ways you can do this. How do you find slope when you're given a graph? You just stare at Miss Boston and hope she gives you the answer.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not going to work.
I know. Before.
Bailey, what do?
You count up to the next dot and then you count up.
Okay, so how many do you have to rise? 1, 2.
3, 4.
So I rise 4, I run. Okay, another way you could have done it was using these two coordinate points and using the slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. If this is my x1 and this is y1, this is x2 and this is y2. y2 is negative 2 minus a negative 6 over x2 is 3 minus 0. I can make this into a smiley face. So if I have negative 2 and I add 6, where are you at?
8. I know.
4 over 3. Did we get the same thing?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so either way will work to get slope. Okay, so I have 4/3 is my slope. What letter represents slope? M.
Oh.
How do you find the y-intercept?
It's the first point on the graph.
But that's not the definition of y-intercept. How do you know it's the y-intercept?
It's on Y.
It's on the y-axis, right? So right here's my y-axis. That line meets the y-axis right there. So what is the y-intercept? Negative 6, and that is what letter?
B.
B. Okay, so to write your formula is what?
Y equals 4/3 x plus negative 6.
Actually, you could just do minus.
No,
6.
not possible.
Or like they said, y equals 4/3 x minus 6. That's the same thing. Questions? How did we do on that? Give me a thumbs up if, yep, you got them all right. Thumbs to the side, I kind of got some of it. Thumbs down, I have no idea what I did. Okay. All right.